talking one huge thing on Friday.
Is Shari joining us from?
Can we lean your ass right
I saw him very slick.
We all.
Ready?
He was dressed to the nine.
Okay. We'll get started. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry for this late briefing. It has been a very, very busy day, and I wanted to let you know what we've been doing all day. All levels of government have been working so hard, and it's been hard to get on top of everything. So again, I apologize for the late briefing. So I think we're going to do this closed caption. We weren't able to get Shari here, so I think we're going to have closed captioned for this briefing. So today's work has been focused largely on search and rescue and repairing many of the infrastructure needs, such as the water and sewer breaks. So let me introduce who's here first. We have Sheriff Joseph Lopinto, and I will explain all of the stuff that his men and women have been involved in today. We have the Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente. Director of Public Works, I think Mark Drews was called off right now for another issue. Chief Administrative Assistant, Sarah Babcock. Our Chief of the East Bank Consolidated, Chief Dave Tibbetts. Our Director of West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams. He was very involved in the Lafitte rescue. I think he's still there now. And our Jefferson Parish School Superintendent, Dr. James Gray. We also have with us, and honored to have with us, our Councilman at Large for Division A, Ricky Templett. Councilman at Large for Division B, Scott Walker. Councilman District 1, Marion Edwards was here earlier today. He left, but he is back in his district. Councilman for District 2, Dino Bonanno, is at Yenny, I'm told, at the Yenny building. Councilman Byron Lee is here, right? He made it back? Okay. Councilman Impastato from Dominic Impastato for Council District 4, and Councilwoman Jennifer Van Rankin from Councilwoman District 5. And then Kyle Green here and nobody? Okay. Is that everybody? Okay. So, Dr. Gray, I said it. Okay, good. So, today's efforts have largely been on search and rescue. And the other issue we're going to talk about is we're repairing our water lines and many other issues in the parish. But we started this morning on the search and rescue efforts in Lafitte. I have to give thanks to our first responder teams. We were embedded with many of these folks throughout the night. They were planning this mission. They were working it. They were waiting for sunlight to get out there and do their work. And I am personally very proud to work alongside of these departments and the efforts they made today. So I was there down in Lafitte. Mayor Tim Kerner Jr. was down there. Lafitte is underwater in ways that we have never seen before. I go there for every storm. The water is actually beyond Lafitte, and it leads to the highway that leads to Lafitte by a mile. Unheard of kind of water that we have never seen before. Somebody that I knew who was 40 years old says in his lifetime he's never seen water rise that high. And we will learn more about what happened, but my understanding, Councilman Templett told me he was there last night. It wasn't there last night. It started rising today. So we want to thank them. Mayor Kerner and his team yesterday, when he told me that he thought the water was rising in Lower Lafitte, as soon as the winds died down a little bit, he went in. Last night they saved 27 people. And then at last count today, with the many teams that were there today, another 108. This is a scene where boats were just going in and out of Lafitte all day long. So we have to thank many people for this effort. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Lopinto will be here to address you. Our West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams, who you've seen before, and he's probably there now still. Our East Bank Consolidated Fire with Chief Tibbetts. The Louisiana National Guard has been wonderful partners to us. They were there as well. There were a lot of animals running around, so we had the Jefferson Parish Animal Shelter. They rescued a lot of animals. Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries. And then a big shout out to Councilman Dino Bonanno and Ricky Templett, who were really out there a lot today, and many of the members of the town of Jean Lafitte. And I'm also heard that the Cajun Navy showed up and helped us with these rescue efforts. So I will let the sheriff brief you on that extensive mission. Finally, I was able to reach Mayor Carmodell, Mayor David Carmodell in Grand Isle. We have been out of touch with Grand Isle since the storm's been over since yesterday afternoon. So at 6 o'clock, I was able to speak with him. He was supposed to get a helicopter. I don't think the helicopter could pick him up or land there. He actually made it to Grand Isle. Those of us who know Mayor Carmodell knew he was going to, right? It's the Grand Isle way. He made it to Grand Isle some kind of way. which we probably don't want to know, but it involved a tracker and a lot of cutting different pieces of property. So he made it in. They have no cell service. He has to get to the top of a bridge. He called me from somebody else's phone. The great news is that he thinks everyone survived. He thinks that when it got bad, people ran from their homes. They ran to stronger buildings. They ran to the fire department. They ran to the multiplex. I know there's damage at the multiplex. The sheriff might be able to brief you on that. I think he saw it. I have not seen it. So he thinks that everyone survived. In terms of the building and the structures, he said it's 100% damaged, and many of the buildings are not gone. So I have not been able to see it, but some people have been able to get their eyes on the damage there. Of course, he needs help. He needs the roads to clear. He needs clean water to start rebuilding his community. And if any of us know David Carmodel, he will begin rebuilding his community immediately. In terms of Mayor Carmodel, he said this storm and the people who stayed will never stay again. They've all said they will never stay again. In his words, Hurricane Ida was Katrina on steroids. The wind was such an incredible event. It wasn't so much a water event for them like Katrina was, but it was a wind event. And I'm sure you will look forward when he can address you on the damages in his community. So while Lafitte and Grand Isle were dealing with rising water and storm surge, here in Upper Jefferson, we have other major issues. I liken it to calling it a system breakdown. So first of all, I'll go on one of our main priorities today for all of our teams was the water pressure. It was the absolute priority for us. In the first part of the day, we were clearing roads for search and rescue. We were clearing roads to make water repairs. Our ability to fight fires is at issue here, and the need for a community just to have clean drinking water, which is an essential for the most basic of a community. Mark's not here. I think he was called away, but earlier he said we had 200 water breaks. Last night we thought there were 6. Sydney Basley, our water director, saw the pressure dropping so significantly. He's like, something else is going on. There's a lot more water breaks. I think it's up to 200. I know they repaired at least 50 today. So this is largely because of the trees that fall, the uprooted trees that break the water mains. I have issued a boil water advisory for both the East Bank and the West Bank. What does a boil water advisory mean? It means you have to boil or use bottled water or boil the water for drinking, for ice making, for brushing your teeth, for washing dishes, and for food preparation. So the other issue we're facing is electricity, and Patrick Hamby is usually the representative for our electrical department, Energy, and he is not able to be with us today, but I did get a message from him. Essentially, we are 100% out of electricity, as you know. A very large transmission tower near Avondale collapsed that served Orleans and the East Bank of Jefferson Parish, but if you drive around, you can see poles in all neighborhoods that need attention. So Entergy is now going through a damage assessment portion of the restoration process. They'll have this assessment done in 3 to 5 days, which will include the initial estimated restoration times for general geographic areas in the parish. A key factor in this assessment process is looking at critical facilities such as hospitals and nursing homes. In terms of telecommunications, as those of you know who have been trying to reach everyone, this is very spotty. Our level of communication is extremely limited. So obviously those of us know that sometimes we're able to make calls, sometimes they go through text, sometimes they're not going through. So I was able to be on a call today with the White House, and I know there were some agreements signed at the FCC to have these agreements between carriers so that you could get on a line that even you're not a customer of one carrier, you're able to use another carrier's line. So that is being done at this time. Okay, the next issue when I talk about a broken system is our sewer system. Our sewer system in Jefferson Parish relies on electricity at the lift stations. We're asking everyone to limit the amount that you put into that sewer system. We're talking about washing dishes, washing your clothes, taking your baths. This is about limiting your water usage. I'm told some areas in the parish don't even have running water, but it's about preserving your water and not putting too much into a very fragile system. We all know on rain events we can easily get sewer backups in our neighborhoods, sometimes in our homes. So this is the issue we're talking about. It is very fragile right now, so we need everybody to cooperate with us and minimize that usage. The next thing I'm asking, and if many of you are watching Facebook Live, I don't know if people locally can be watching this, but if you're away from home, many of you have evacuated, and we're glad you did, and you're probably glad you did. I know you're anxious to be here. I know you're anxious to check your homes, but we are asking that everybody not come home yet. We cannot provide you the modern amenities that you're used to. You are more comfortable where you are. We have a very fragile, a very vulnerable community. You heard me say we have no electricity. You have a boil water advisory. We have problems with the sewer system. On top of that, remember, our hospital systems were already at capacity. They were overworked with staffing issues, capacity issues due to COVID. Now these hospital systems are relying on generator power. They're concerned about clean water. The gas station nearby, that was one of the few gas stations open, the line was 5 blocks long for this one gas station. And I'm told that no stores are open. And when I was driving around today, I did not see anything open. So this is not the community that you left. So we're asking that you stay away until you get further notice. And I promise you we're working very hard so that you can come back. Okay, I'm talking in conjunction with our sheriff. We have a curfew in effect now. It is in effect now until 6 a.m. Tomorrow, we're going to do a nighttime curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. For now, offices are closed. Our government offices are going to be closed through Friday. We will continually update it. Garbage pickup is suspended tomorrow or through Wednesday, I believe. We were trying, but garbage pickup is suspended tomorrow and Wednesday. Transit will not run buses, or paratransit will not run tomorrow either. They're assisting with evacuations. Services are going to resume once the debris is cleared and the street lights are operational. Dr. Gray will give his update on the school systems, and I'll let him do that. So many of you understand when this Hurricane Ida hit us. It hit us on the 16-year anniversary of Katrina. Many people who worked Katrina are here with us working this storm. And many people are commenting about how we were so much better prepared to handle this storm than Katrina, that we learned lessons for Katrina that benefited us now. That is certainly the case in the building that you're standing in here right now at the EOC. We were able to stand here. Our teams were able to strategize so that when the sun came up, everybody knew where they had to go, but we didn't have to worry about if we were safe or not. We were in here during the storm. From our pumping systems, our pumping stations, our levees that are higher, we're so happy to know that all of the levees held. The system worked as designed. The safe houses were there. They had people in it co-located by the pumping stations. So the investments our taxpayers have paid into a drainage system and all these improvements, and had we not had these systems in place, I do believe we would have had much more loss of life and much, much more to repair. So I know we have been through a lot as a community. I know sometimes I think we're feeling like we're tested. But make no mistake, we are battered, but we will not be broken. I've worked alongside incredible teams, these people behind me, but so many more teams, our mayors, so many other partner agencies. We have had people come in from outside communities to help us. We are as determined as we ever have been to build back stronger. We're just asking for your patience in this matter, but I promise you, I've worked along these men and women all day long, but even before this and even before that, even through COVID and everything, we will build back stronger, but we're just asking for your patience. Okay, so with that, I'm going to introduce Sheriff Joseph Lopinto.
Thank you, Madam President. What a difference a day makes. It's been a rough 24 hours. I can't say how proud I am of the men and women of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. Last night we sheltered in place until about 3 a.m. this morning. 3 a.m. Our deputies started going back out on the street, catching up on the calls for service and the emergency calls that came in during the storm itself, putting them in priority. Happy to say that all the calls of service received last night have been caught up today, so we're back to our regular schedule of any calls that are coming in. I'll still say we have too many people on the street, asking you to stay in. Not only the roads aren't safe, our first responders are trying to get from call to call. They did a phenomenal job today on a whole bunch of different fronts, whether it was search and rescue just from houses, doing dispo checks at different people's houses to check on them from family members out of state. Everybody knows communications was shut down most of the morning, so cell phones were not working, and our level of communication was really, superb. We did not lose any radio communications during the storm. Still had the ability to respond. Search and rescue efforts down in Lafitte today went really great with a whole lot of people that came and joined it, coordinated by us. We'd put deputies on each of the boats, whether they're volunteer boats, to make sure we had communications to go in and save everyone. Put our helicopter up in the air today to fly over Grand Isle, just to kind of not only get a look at what was going on the island, but also get an eye on the people out there already starting to work. Looks like some of the people that stayed in Grand Isle, they're already clearing the roads. They had front loaders out trying to clear it, giving us a thumbs up, and heading on back. The Multiplex complex there is pretty much intact. They may have had a little roof damage, but it held up as expected. Haven't been inside of it yet, nor have had communications, but from the air, it looked like it held up intact and was able to house them during the storm itself. If anybody, understands we're having a curfew. Look, we're asking people not to be here. If you have the ability to get out even now, do so. Our sewage system's not going to be up to par. Our power will not be there. If you have the ability, you stayed home for the storm and still want to get out of here for your creature comforts, please do so. But your property is going to be safe. We have not had any massive looting calls whatsoever. We've probably had a few isolated incidents of thefts, but nothing that is widespread by any means. As you know, living in Jefferson Parish, if you call the police, you're going to get a fast response time. Well, the reality of it is right now, you're going to have a 30-second response time. I have more deputies on the street than I know what to do with. Don't commit a crime right now, because you will absolutely go to jail. I've got every single detective that's normally handling other calls out there working night watch. We'll have detectives from other places. We have National Guard at static locations around the parish, protecting some of the bigger stores and gun stores and all that type of stuff. If you want to commit a crime, go someplace else, because there's no chance for you to do it in Jefferson Parish right now. My jail is still open and taking reservations if you need it. My thoughts to the people that are outside, looking in, trying to figure out whether they need to come back. Be rest assured, look, isolated incidents can happen, but we're going to do our best to make sure we protect the residents of Jefferson Parish. There's enough people here to keep an eye on the community, and we'll be able to respond to any calls that are needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Is Joe back? Yeah. Okay. Our Director of Emergency Management, Mr. Joe Valiente.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to mention that as a result of the incredible efforts this morning from the interagency teams that were conducting the search and rescues, they were able to rescue 114 evacuees who had stayed behind. The Emergency Operations Center is still in full activation, and all of our ESFs are up and running so that we can support the efforts of the Public Works Department, answer questions for our school boards, and to support all these search and rescue missions that are occurring, so that in the event that they need resources, we're here to interface with Baton Rouge and GOSEP and get those resources for them. Anyone that sees anything whatsoever that's out of place as far as down power lines, down wires, trees that are blocking the roadway, please make sure you contact us at 349-5360, 349-5360. We have just started with our windshield assessments, and our teams are going to be going out in larger and larger numbers starting tomorrow and the day after to check and see exactly what we have to fix out there as far as us as a parish. And as the parish president mentioned, Energy has already conducted some aerial surveys of their transmission lines so that they can determine how they're going to reroute some of these power sources so that they can bring power back to our community quicker. We're still conducting numerous calls a day. We have a leadership call that we do once a day where we have over 100 participants and stakeholders throughout the parish agencies participating. And, of course, we have our daily meeting with GOSEP, and so we're able to update what our efforts have accomplished and also information they pushed us on any changes that are made in policy or equipment that's available or any funding that's available through FEMA. One question that we got numerous calls on today was whether or not the I-10 was open. And there was some issues with the I-10 heading westbound at Laplace, and cars were being diverted at Williams Boulevard. However, that has been resolved, and now the traffic east and westbound is open. I-55 northbound is still closed due to heavy trees and debris that's on the that part of the interstate. But from Manchac to Laplace, the south side of I-55, it is clear and open. So, again, I remind everybody to help us by calling in anything that you see out of place, any damage, especially if it's a severely damaged building or if it's a tree, a power line that's blocking the roadway. It's important that we know that. Contact us at 349-5360. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Chief Administrative Assistant Sarah Babcock.
Good evening. Today we've been in contact with all of our healthcare facilities. We remained in contact throughout the storm and this morning. Other than the 4 nursing homes that evacuated pre-storm, all hospitals and nursing homes have been continuing to shelter in place. We did have some hospitals in Region 3 that had to evacuate and move those patients into our region here in Orleans and Jefferson hospitals. And as of this evening, Tulane Lakeside Hospital is transporting patients into Tulane downtown campus due to ongoing water pressure issues at that facility. We've continued to work on generators and water with them throughout this. We will have a few dialysis centers that are going to be able to open tomorrow. So if you are a dialysis patient, you should have the emergency number for your dialysis company. Please call them directly to schedule your appointment, and we will be working with them to try and coordinate transit for those who need it. We currently have 2 oxygen distribution stations. One is at Fire Station 20 at 4110 Hudson Street in Metairie, and Fire Station 81 at 808 MacArthur Avenue in Harvey. Those are up and running. You may go there if you need oxygen support. If you have empty tanks at home, we ask that you bring those to the fire station so that we can refill them. Due to the current power and water concerns, we are right now transporting people who need shelter outside of the region. So this is a partnership between us and many state agencies, including DOTD, DCFS, LDH, and even AG is taking our pets to other shelters. So if you are not able to stay in your home but you cannot evacuate by yourself, you can call us here at the EOC. That number is 504-349-5360, and we will work on coordinating with you to be able to safely get out of the area. We do have buses lined up for the next few days to be able to do that. As a reminder, we are under a boil water advisory. This is extremely important if you have small children or are immunocompromised, because there may be bacteria in that water that you may be more susceptible to if you have one of those conditions or have young children. So please make sure you're using bottled water, as many people will not be able to boil it right now with the power outages. I also want to remind everyone about food safety. So your refrigerator probably hasn't been working for about 24 hours. We are soon going to be nearing the end of the period where that food is safe. So I want you to remember that. And as Parish President mentioned, this is coming 16 years after the anniversary of Katrina. Whether or not you have gone through those storms, there may be mental health challenges in our community for those here, as well as those who have evacuated. That gets exacerbated when we can't reach our loved ones without cell service. The Louisiana Department of Health has stood up a 24/7 mental health crisis hotline. That number is 1-800-256-2522. Again, that's 1-800-256-2522. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we're going to have the Chief of the East Bank Consolidated District, Chief Dave Tibbetts. Normally, he's joined by our Director of our West Bank Volunteer Fire Services, Brian Adams, but Mr. Adams is still in Lafitte. When I left a little while ago, he was still there, so.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. I get to be the tall guy this time. Brian's not here. I want to thank everybody for their patience that they're having with all of us, with our responses and all. We're trying to do as best we can. As the sheriff said, I want to take the same time and thank the members of the East Bank Consolidated Fire Department for such a wonderful job. We've been called out in the last 24 hours to a high number of calls. We have what we call stack these calls. We do a triage on them, and of course we go to the calls that we think we need to go to. Yesterday afternoon, in the midst of the storm, at about 2:30 p.m., the East Jefferson Fire Department went out to a fire. Unfortunately, it was not with a good result. We lost a structure due to a lot of complications. We responded to another structure fire today, and we've had numerous calls for service that we've taken that stack and gone through today and made sure we visited with each one of those addresses. As you know, when I get up, I like to talk about generator safety. Unfortunately, I have to report that we did have one individual burned while refueling a generator. So again, I'll go over it. Please be extremely careful with generators, especially portable generators. They need to be fueled when they're cool. So it's okay to let that generator off for a time period to let it cool off. 30 minutes is probably enough. You put your hands by it. If you feel heat still coming off, then just don't do it. It's not worth it. Wait longer. It needs to be away from your house. We've had a couple of calls. We walked into one house with two elderly people, and our meters that we checked carbon monoxide with went to 100%. So fortunately, they called us, and we got them out, and it's very simple to fix. We take them outside, fresh air fixes it. We were able to check it. That was with a fixed generator, too. So even those with the wind blowing the way it was allowing the vapors to get back into the house. So, again, please be careful. Be careful refueling them. And if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to us at the department, 736-6200, and we'd be glad to help you with that. So, again, we want to thank everyone. Please, I want to say it, too, because seen a lot of problems today with the people out. Please stay in if you can. Give us our room to exercise and do what we do. We really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to echo some thank yous to. I was behind you. So the sheriff and a great partnership today with the rescues, Dan and Grand Isle. Wildlife and Fisheries, West Jefferson Ambulance Service, the National Guard. We really had a good day and saved a bunch of people, and we had some really smiling faces when they were coming out of that water today. So again, thank you, Sheriff, for your leadership with that mission today. We're going back out tomorrow to continue that mission and see if we can convince some other people to leave, because there's still some people back there that are in some waters, and the waters are still up. So again, thank you all, and I appreciate it.
Okay, speaking of tall guys, we have our very own Superintendent of the Jefferson Parish School System, Dr. James Gray.
I was wondering how long he was going to hold that title. The last time I was here, I talked about the age of our facilities, and this storm actually put our facilities to the test. Our skeleton crew that we still have here got out early this morning at 6:30. We started riding around to see what we can possibly assess. But because we're such a small crew, we were not able to get to all of our schools. We are noticing some roof damages to many of our facilities. It goes without saying the damage that was seen in Grand Isle and Lafitte, but in our other Jefferson Parish schools, we see some significant damages. The issue that we're going to have is how can we know exactly what we have once we start opening doors? Again, once we start getting people back inside of our district, and we're kind of encouraging people not to come back at this particular time. So that can be a very, very slow process. So the things that the district is, the parish is feeling as a whole, the school district is going to feel the same things too. So as long as we don't know exactly when power is going to be coming back, what the water situation is going to be coming back, it's going to be increasingly difficult for us to be able to establish a timeline for which we're going to be able to start educating our kids again. What we want to do is start educating as soon as we possibly can. At this particular point, all school-related businesses and activities are closed at this particular time, and then we'll make sure we communicate with everybody continuously to let them know exactly when we will be reopening. We think our biggest piece to all of this is going to be constant communication with our parents, our families, the parish as a whole, keep in contact with the parish government to make sure that we get timelines when those things are established, but we know so many things have to take place. Again, the parish president talked about we want to make sure that we encourage people not to come back at this time because our system is broken and we don't want to put too much stress on it. That includes our teachers, our families, our administrators, our staff. And so because they're not in the vicinity, this may take a little bit longer than what is expected. Most people think that once the weather clears, everything just starts clicking back the way that it was prior to, and that's not necessarily the case. And then when you're dealing with 50,000 students, it becomes increasingly more complex. And so when we're riding around and we're seeing roofs peeling off or that have peeled off, we're trying to figure out what's the best course of action or what we can do to remedy that situation as quickly as we can. So when the other issues like electricity and water pressure gets resolved, we're ready to go. We did send our technology home with all of our kids, but in the haste of leaving, some of them didn't even bring them with them. So remote learning is going to be a challenge. We will use that as an option if necessary. But on conference call with board members today, that became a challenge because of some of the connectivity. So although we have the devices able to accomplish this, the infrastructure may not be able to handle it. So those are the things that we're looking at. We're going to continuously talk to our board members, talk to our administrators, get as much feedback as we possibly can. We're trying to assess where they are right now across the country to see where we can try to start leveraging when they are returning, so when we can start opening procedures for our schools. I do have to say, I have to say thank you to our board members who are still in town. Because we're such a small crew and can't get out to all the schools, board members are actually getting in their cars and riding around to try to determine where they can see visible damage and reporting that back to our operations team. My operations team is really working hard. We really want to try to get our kids back into our buildings as safely as we possibly can, so we can make sure that we continue to give them the great instruction that we've been giving them all this particular time. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Bright. Our council offices, I know, as soon as the sun came up, they and their staff members started driving around their districts as well. So I want them to be able to give you an update on what they saw in their districts. So we'll start with our council chairman, Councilman Scott Walker.
Thank you, Madam President. Driving around the parish today, it's hard to wrap your head around what you see. Starting at about 6:30 this morning, getting on the road here on the West Bank and then going over to the East Bank and trying to see it all was incredibly sad and difficult to watch. And our thoughts continue to be with all the people in Grand Isle and Lafitte who are dealing with so much in the aftermath of this storm, and any community and people who are dealing with the aftermath of this. But what we are dealing with is a process that we're used to. I mean, this is what we do. We live in a place that's prone to hurricanes, and we deal with the aftermath of hurricanes. So now we do this, and we do it hopefully in a friendly way, in a positive way, and a resilient way, which is what we've come to expect of ourselves. I think when you look at what happened with our water system, I got questions everywhere I went today. How long is the water going to be out? How long is the water going to be out? And we don't know. I mean, it may be a week. It may be a little bit shorter than that. But the problem was beyond our control. The solution is within our control. And you heard the parish president say 200 breaks in the water system. I mean, that is a lot, and it's going to take some time. It was a catastrophic assault on our water system last night, with all those trees coming down, all those water lines being broken. But rest assured that it is being repaired as quickly as humanly possible. We understand the urgency of having water and why you need water. And that's the same thing with your power. I told Patrick Hamby today, I said, look, the water situation is taking away from the pressure on you. So if you get the power back in less than a week, then you're the good guy all of a sudden. So Entergy is working really hard, and they're going to get the power back up as quickly as humanly possible. That transmission tower that you saw go down into the river, had some extensive conversations about that. It was initially framed a catastrophic incident that was going to put our power restoration back into November. And there's an old graphic going around social media right now that's from Hurricane Zeta last year that says Jefferson Parish isn't going to have its power restored until November 2nd. And people are spreading it like wildfire. Please spread the right information. We're giving you the right information right now. It's on all of our social media platforms. Don't share things that are old. We have the right information for the right storm right now, and we're going to get it out to you as quickly as possible as soon as we know it. There's nobody holding anything back here. All this information is coming out of the EOC, and we're going to give it to you as soon as we have it and as soon as we know it. So please watch the information that you're spreading and know that we're doing our level best to get everything operational as quickly as possible. But this is unlike anything we've seen before. And we said last year during Hurricane Zeta that that was the worst we'd seen here since Hurricane Katrina. Well, this is the worst we've seen here since Hurricane Zeta, which was less than a year ago. So here we go again. We've been here before. This is what we do, and we're going to move forward in the best way that we can, or we're going to be a better parish after this. And to echo what others have said, if you don't need to come back, don't come back. I called my wife today and my kids. I said, stay away a few more days. There's no reason to come back yet. And some people on social media said, are y'all going to pay for us to stay away? No, but we're sorry. I mean, if you want to come back and not be able to flush your toilet and sweat in September in your house and not have air conditioning, not have any of the comforts you're used to, then come back. But the best move is to stay away if at all possible and give the people here the time to do the work they need to do. I've spoken too long, but I just wanted to get all those thoughts out there. Appreciate everything you all are doing to get our message out. And this group back here, the council, all the department heads, the administration, coming out of this building, we've been here constantly for the past few days, and we've been through a lot. You all have been through a lot. Everybody in the public has been through a lot. So let's just finish getting through this together and move to the other side. Thanks so much.
Again, I want to just say first thank you, because when we started riding the streets of our districts, and I'm sure this is true of everyone, we started driving around, we saw JPSO out on the streets, we saw Public Works out on the streets, we saw our parkways crews cutting trees already. Jefferson is out there. We are trying to get things back to normal. The best thing that each of you who might hear this or see this can do is please stay home. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing open. If you can stay home, imagine how much more quickly all of those crews can do their jobs. So if we can just reiterate that, that would be, I think, the single most important thing that each of you can do. As water starts to come back on, the other thing that I'll reiterate is our sewer system is not going to be operational until the power comes back on. So as you start to get water, please minimize your use, because the more you put into the wastewater system, the more likely we are to have sewer backup. So again, some of those things are going to be really important to keep in mind as you go. As the parish lifts our curfew eventually, when the parish president decides that's appropriate, and people start to get back out on the streets. Again, right now we still have trees, we still have power lines down. So again, be very careful as you continue out on the roadways, and be kind to your neighbors. You know I saw a lot of people out there helping each other today. We're all going to get hot. We're all going to get increasingly agitated, I know, in the days to come. But as a community, I know we're also really strong and looking out for each other, and letting us know if there's a neighbor in need is one of the most helpful things you can do. Thank you.
Just like that, in the tales of a Charles Dickens novel, was the best of times, but yes, it's the worst of times. We thank those in the listening audience and the viewing audience who are not here for heeding to us that they should leave town to avoid the worst that conditions that we've ever seen possibly in the history of Jefferson Parish, and that our electricity is out, as well as we have challenges to our water system. It's been very bad for those people who decided to stay, but yet had to be rescued. But in that came the good and the benefits of being citizens in a strong government, that is Jefferson Parish, and that we were able to work very hard today to get people rescued and show our humanity toward those citizens that we represent. And so what I'm asking is for those who are away, please take your time and recognize that if you were to come back, you'd be coming back in very bad conditions. And so rather than contributing to the misery of the heat and the lack of water, if you have the means, please stay where you are. FEMA has announced that it will be setting up a 1-800 number. So for all those who have needs because they cannot afford to be gone for many, many weeks or many, many days, FEMA will be providing assistance to those who need assistance with their hotels. Also, the administration, along with GOSEP, State Representative Rodney Lyons, have been working together to create a system by which those who need blue tarps, they will be made available. If you have an emergency, if there's any issues that you need from this government, please call 504-349-5360. 349-5360. Thank y'all.
Councilman Dominic Impastato for District 4. I wanted to focus my comments on the Kenner and Metairie area where we spent all day today. We started at about 6 a.m. Kenner Mayor Ben Zahn and I assessing the damage, particularly to the Kenner area, and found virtually every major thoroughfare in the city of Kenner with down power lines, power poles, along with tree damage across the city. The Kenner mayor and his staff are currently on the street. I literally just left them where they're continuing the restoration effort and mainly debris removal at this point. One of the challenges that we saw throughout District 4 today in Metairie and Kenner is with down trees or often down power lines and power poles intertwined. So oftentimes when we see when there is a tree in the street that's blocking a street, well, until energy can come and clear that line that may be buried within or intertwined within that tree, that debris cannot be removed. That is the kind of thing we're having to deal with street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, and that is an extensive process. In addition to all the reasons why we're asking people to stay off the streets, it's also the delay that it causes in the relief. Today, again, Mayor Ben Zahn and I were together, and we were asked by relief workers if we could block streets off because the number of cars passing through the street while they're trying to address a power line issue or a debris issue, we're literally making them stop their work. So that causes not just a safety hazard, as has been identified by the people before me, but also delays our recovery effort, which is certainly the most common question all of us are getting right now. When will power be back? When will water be back? On East Jefferson, that is the primary source of concern we're getting. On the day before the storm, 2 days before the storm, Energy stood at this very podium and said with a storm of this size, their expectation statistically was 21 days without power or more. That's what they said before the storm, not to mention everything that has happened. Now, the communications that our office has gotten from Energy is they won't even estimate at this point. So that should give us an indication of the magnitude and the extent of what we're dealing with. On the water, Kenner residents and those in the North Metairie side, we are at the end of the water line. That means our water pressure, as a general rule, is often lower than other sections of the parish. So we can expect our pressure to be some of the last to come on as these water main breaks are fixed. So for those of you watching who are in that area, who are in our District 4, I will repeat to you what was told to me by our own water director, which is the expectation is 5 days potentially without water. So whatever decisions that you're making with your family, with yourselves, Please operate with those expectations in mind. We hope it's better than that. And as hard as these men and women are working on the street, they're on the street working right now. I would love to believe that it's going to happen sooner, as hard as they're working. The challenge is with the magnitude and the breadth of this. I think those estimates are pretty fair, and I think everyone should make the appropriate decisions for their family based on those assumptions and based on those expectations. So please give us your assistance in that, give us your patience in that. And as Councilman Walker said, the best information that you're going to get as to what's going on in the parish is going to come from Jefferson Parish government and the individual council offices A, B, and 1 through 5. So if you want to share something, share our Facebook post, share our Twitters, our tweets, and Instagrams, etc. That's going to be the most reliable information as to what's going on within our parish. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, thank everybody for being here. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Yeah, could you confirm if there was a fatality that was flood related today?
I don't know if it's flood related. I can hold on. Earplugs in there. We did have a fatality down in Lafitte today that we were able to recover. Truthfully, I just don't know the circumstances. I hadn't been able to get a report or talk to a deputy on it. I know we did have a fatality down there, but I can't necessarily comment on the circumstances of it. I certainly will find out for it. I just don't know the answer to that. We had been told before with one of the people that were rescued that there was a fatality in a particular house, and we went back and recovered that body. But that's about all I know about it right now. But I can follow up and get that answer for you. No problem.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here.